The media company News24 has confirmed that it's now considering shutting down the print versions of some of its newspapers like City Press, Rapport and Daily Sun. It will still produce news in digital formats. Anton Harber is currently chair of the Campaign for Free Expression, but has had a long career in newspapers himself, started the Weekly Mail in the 1980s and probably understands the media better than almost anyone else. Anton, good afternoon to you. We've known for quite a long time that newspapers seem to be, well, I suppose, living on borrowed time. I mean, is this maybe the sort of beginning of the final end for newspapers as we currently know them in South Africa? And I can't quite believe I'm saying that.
Thank you, Stephen, and sorry about that. Certainly, it's a critical moment in the transition of our newspaper market in this country, as it is in many countries in the world, from the old print editions to the online editions. It's a very significant shift, but it's certainly a critical moment in a change we knew was coming, but has come faster than we expected.
So many newspapers are published online, and we have many, many news websites now, but is something important lost in this transition? I suppose what I'm trying to get to is there is a difference in the news that a newspaper produces and then publishes and something a news website publishes. I mean, is there a big difference between the two?
There is a big difference signaled by this change in two senses. The first is that the old physical newspapers had a particular place in our society, in our families, in our lives, in forming our identities, our connections, and in setting the political and economic and social agenda. And while the internet plays an important role, it plays a different role. Certainly my experience is that the sites, most of the sites on which we get news online do not have the same role and character as the print versions had. But it's another, it's in another sense as well. You know, the internet is flooded with information. Some of it good, some of it bad, some of it malicious, some of it downright dangerous. The purpose of a newspaper is to sift through that and tell you this is what you can believe, this is what you need to read, this is what you should read, and to package that for you in a way that's both interesting and entertaining. It's very different on the internet, where largely you're flooded by masses of information you have to wade through, and only some of which you can trust.
There's another word for that as well, which I think might be curating content. And I find myself, I mean, as you can imagine, I consume an unbelievable amount of sort of journalism in South Africa. And I find myself often looking for the, going online and looking for the newspaper sort of online version, simply because I don't want to miss a particular columnist or I don't want to miss anything. That role of curatorship, is that still very important? And is maybe that what's sort of being left behind?
It is being left behind because there isn't the same sense of curatorship online. I mean, certainly there's some online newspapers that do it and do it well. There's no doubt. And one thinks of some of the international, the global, the very big world titles that do that. But in South Africa, you have a sense that a lot is thrown in online, that you have to wade through all sorts of things to find what you want, and not that sense that there's somebody making an intelligent, informed, professional selection of the mix you need, and you can consume quite quickly to get on with your day.
There's other things that are developing here. I mean, we have a situation where the economic model behind news publishing may kind of be broken, and this is largely because of the way the big tech giants manage it. I know you've been involved in the Competition Commission inquiry into this, so we're talking about Google, we're talking about Facebook, Meta as it's currently renamed itself. I mean, is the economic model for journalism broken in some way?
It is, sadly. Certainly the traditional model of advertising, subsidizing and paying for journalism and allowing it to be delivered fairly cheaply to the consumer, that's gone because of the breakdown of the advertising model online and because so much of the advertising has been consumed by the big global platforms like Google and Facebook. So what the importance of this week's developments really is that it signals a speeding up in the deterioration, the shrinkage in our local news industry. And that's very serious for all of us and our economy and our democracy, and that's the real issue of concern.
So it seems to me journalism has an intrinsic value in society. I'm a journalist, so of course I would say that. I would imagine you would nod your head quite seriously in agreement with that statement. But there's also something else about business, and I've been struck by how many business people have been so interested in the political changes we've seen in our country in the last 2 weeks. And the point I'm trying to get to is, for business, you cannot make any kind of decision. I mean, how are people going to make decisions about, the value of the rand, or how much they'll pay for a platinum mine in Rustenburg, if they don't know what's happening in society? So isn't there a business value to journalism that maybe business is missing?
Without a doubt, you can't operate as a business person. The economy can't operate without good, reliable, solid information that's easily accessible. There's no question. And that's just the economy. You think about the politics, you think about sport, you think about entertainment, all of that. We rely on the media to keep us informed and to keep us engaged and able to operate in this complex and fast-moving society. Some business has recognized this problem and have been supporting media outlets, investigative journalism, and things like that. But there isn't enough of a realization in our society as a whole and in the business community as a whole that we can't let our news industry continue to deteriorate, because as when transport or electricity or water deteriorates, it affects the whole economy.
Anton Harber, thank you very much indeed. Do appreciate it. Veteran journalist himself.